internet, there's nothing people are ashamed to use as a weapon when they're bullying you.
So I actually, you know, when you do some research, you find out that online studies show that women get bullied more than men. And the studies left it open as to why. Do you have your own theories? Have you heard of what others out there have sort of researched about why women get bullied more than men, Adele?
You know, this is the thing, and it's so many issues we're going through as a community, as a culture, as a people are interlinked. If you ask any woman about the street harassment they go through, why do they wear earphones when they're walking in town or whatever? It's because of the harassment they go through, right? This harassment has a digital face now. And the foundation of that harassment, because women are never seen as the owners of their bodies, right? In the side of the world that we live in, you're rounded off the nearest man. So when it takes an online platform, it's even easier for somebody to hold these, to target a woman because there's no repercussions. How are they going to find you, right? And we've seen it time and time again. When it comes to women, it's almost, we're low-hanging fruit almost from how we've been conditioned as a people. We're almost weaponized in political circles and now in digital circles.
Okay, I think you've summarized it quite well. June, I'm coming to you shortly, but let me bring in Gregory. Gregory, as a counseling psychologist, what is going on in the mind of a person who is just about to bully another person on social media? What's happening in their mind at that time?
Thank you, Wahiga. What happens to us as a society? There is a lot of frustration, there is a lot of pain, there is a lot of anger. And as we've been growing, we've not been sensitive about the mental health of individuals in our society. The mental health, even right now, guys are still struggling, accepting psychologists as individuals who are helpful because we only know psychiatrists. So in terms of our mental health, in terms of the way we deal with ourselves, the way I view myself, that is where the bigger problem is. Why? So many of our pains are displaced. Displaced means I'm looking for somebody who I can actually displace, put my anger on, put my frustration on, put my pain on, because I don't know how to deal with it myself. That is actually a challenge we have in the society. Another thing is projecting, seeing faults in other people. Why? Because these faults are in me. I am so much in anger. I don't know how to deal with it. It's like a hot sufuria. It's like something hot on me. I don't know how to deal with it. And the more safer place it is through anonymity. I cannot be seen because so many people have created accounts that are not true, and I know possibly I'll not meet you ever, Wahiga Maura, from where I sit. Like say anything to you, yet I have never met you, I don't know you and everything. So another thing is that we have repressed a lot of pain. A lot of things have happened to us, even dealing with ourselves, our success. You know, what is happening in our lives, my personal life, I don't know how to deal with it because I have not been empowered. And look at the population, 35, majority of them are the youth. So you can imagine in terms of cyber bullying, how much would it go when possibly individuals don't even know how to deal with themselves? When I'm angered, am I emotionally intelligent? You know, when I'm saying this, am I within, in terms of even social distance? Right now, it's something that we learn.
Gregory, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Why should I be made to suffer because of the challenges of another individual? Is it, and you're giving good reason as to what's happening, but really, is it fair then on someone like Aziad, who then gets bullied because of the challenges that others are facing, for example?
It is not fair, and that is why for me I was printing this particular picture. That people have bad concepts about who they are. They don't know how to deal with themselves. So that is what is happening in the thinking of the person bullying. And actually, Wahiga Maura, I'll tell you, many people are doing it unconsciously. I don't know whether I am hurting you. They really, what I'm saying to you, I don't think, you know, I'm not sure whether it will hurt you or not. You know, majority of the people, because they are hurting within themselves. That is why they will continue hurting other people. So for me, it is how they are wired and how they are dealing with themselves.
Okay, very interesting.
So
June, I want June to come in as well. And June, when we had a conversation a bit earlier on, there was that announcement by President Uhuru Kenyatta about 100 million for performing artists. And a lot of Kenyans went online and said, performing artists, you don't need this money. The money needs to go to the nurses. They need to go to the doctors who are helping deal with COVID-19. And some artists, or many artists, then went quiet. Nobody went online to say, hold on, as performing artists, we also play some role at this time because they were afraid of being bullied. Do you want to talk a bit about that before you bring in the legal aspect of bullying?
Yes, I'd like to. And I think it's sort of like speaks to the shock factor. I think a lot of the members of the creative space got really shocked. I think it didn't help that the reporting was inaccurate. Which is why even whoever asked me, what is this we're hearing? I just forwarded the presidential address. I said it would be important for you to read and get the actual words that were used, because this money is not coming from COVID relief funds. It is not a discussion as to who is more important, whether it's our frontline soldiers in the medical fraternity or the artists. It was never the discussion, and yet that's what it ended up being. Who is more important? And ironically, I mean, I saw some incredible statements, even in the space of unclarity and uncertainty. You know, who is even watching? Somebody wrote, who is even watching? What do you think who is watching? We are all at home. Everybody's at home. All you are consuming is the content from the creative sector. That is all you are consuming right now. Or you are creating content for yourself and for others. So I think the first thing for me, Wahiga, was the misreporting, because it made it sound like this 100 million was coming from COVID relief funds that should be taking care of masks and other PPEs and helping to fight this pandemic that the entire world is going through. But it is money from the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage, which is where the creatives are
domiciled.
Taken care of.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where they're domiciled. That is their ministry. So this is money from their own funds that has now been appropriated to be able to give them some cushioning. So where that misconception came from, and that it resulted in that anger, I agree with Greg, that the anger of me not being able to earn as a Kenyan right now was then projected on the entire industry. I think there is now a response that has been sent out. I'm seeing hashtags saying creatives have bills too, you know, they need to eat, you're consuming our content, you're not paying for it, you want free live shows. Nobody's offering to pay because nobody has been paid. So we're no different from the blue collar worker in some cases. Who needs to leave his house and take his matatu and go to a construction site.
Yes.
If we don't have gigs to go and perform at, we have no income. So when did we become the lesser people in society? And nobody is more important than the other. We're just saying everybody is in a difficult situation. It was not an excuse or a reason or a license to then attack as they did.
I think you've outlined that quite well, June, but I want to bring you now to Aziad's, and I hope, Aziad, I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I want to bring you to her case.
Yes, you are.
Where she finds her number all over the place. People are pulling out pictures from before, and I'm sure she's gotten strange messages, hopefully none that were threatening as well. What can she do about any messages she's overly concerned about? Let's say someone who keeps texting her a week later, you know, bothering her, and she's clearly not comfortable with it. Does she have any legal defense in this country at this time?
Yes. Well, there are three main options right now. I mean, the statute that controls this kind of incident is called the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. It's very, very new. And having said that, it's not fully operational. So we can't really even say what a court of law, for example, would say in terms of handling Aziad's situation. This, if you remember, was one of the statutes that was initially considered unconstitutional because of aspects of freedom of expression. And just as recently as last month, literally March 2020, the court then ruled that it was indeed constitutional, and therefore it is that fresh in terms of being a new law. So it's not really been tested in terms of how effective it is. However, Section 27 of that statute gives makes this kind of an attack a criminal offense, which then means one would need to go to the police and file a report. There needs to be some sensitization also with our police force, because it's not really very clear for them what do you mean you've been attacked? You know, they're used to sort of terrestrial physical assault.
Adele is really agreeing with you on this one. I know you can't see her, but she's
she's nodding.
She's totally nodding. Yes.
So that kind of sensitization in terms of what damage has actually been done, whether it's on our skin or on our flesh or not, doesn't make it any less an attack. And I think that kind of sensitization, so that the police can be the welcoming sort of face that you would then encounter to be able to file your report contrary to Section 27, and provide whatever evidence. It's ironic because in as much as a lot of these cyber bullies create pseudo accounts, there is a way to sort of have evidence. You can take screenshots and be able to say, look at what people were saying about me. Look at the fact that somebody actually shared my number, which is part of her personal data and information. The second option you have is obviously reporting to the different media or rather platforms, I should say. So your Twitters, your Instagrams, because they all have terms and conditions where you can report or block and send your incident to them.
But can she report 1,000 people? Or 2,000. I guess that is a challenge with that. She got so many messages, Azia. I hope I'm telling that's what happened to you.
Yes, it is.
Her phone was ringing, and by the time she switched it back on, I'm sure between WhatsApp and her regular calls, it was insane.
Yeah.
That she had to go through that. So, and the third thing is obviously to those who had posted negative remarks, we have a civil remedy, which is where an individual takes another to court if you're able to identify them for something like defamation. So at the moment, as I said, given that the law is that fresh and so new, it has not yet been tested, and even the magnitude of the numbers when something goes viral, it's not how it used to be that I'd have to leave my house to go to Adele's and speak to her, then go and now, have her forward this message to somebody else. By the end of an hour, it will only be 3 of us who have this information. But within an hour on a digital platform, it could be in the thousands. And you raise a very valid point in terms of that being one of the challenges. So as the legal fraternity, human rights fraternity, we are watching. They are watching what is going to happen in terms of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act and how the courts will handle the cases that are brought forward, but also to encourage people to file the reports. It's important. It
sounds like there are some options, but they sound quite lengthy before you can actually see results. I want to read some tweets that we had been able to put up a bit earlier on. As I give Gregory a chance to improve his light, it's looking a bit dark where you are, Gregory. I don't know if we are all in the same part of Nairobi. Just check and make sure there's a bit of light where you are as I read some of these tweets. Okay, this is what a few Kenyans have said about cyberbullying, especially around this COVID-19 space when a lot of people are at home, free time, the internet, etc. Bernard Ndong, a journalist, says we have a really big issue with cyberbullying. People don't realize how some things they say to complete strangers can affect them psychologically. Some people are not fazed by the trolls, but for others, the abuse can actually push them over the edge. And we've actually heard of people committing suicide in the past because of cyberbullying. So think before you tweet is a hashtag that Bernard Ndong chooses to go with. Let's look at another one here. And so he says, thanks to KOT trolling and cyberbullying, Brenda, who was actually one of the first sort of positive COVID-19 cases who turned negative, came out to the public about it, and this is the person we're referring to here. She was suspected and confirmed cases of COVID-19, but because of the way she was bullied, others will go underground. Few will dare to come forward to talk about their experience. The response in Kenya just got more complicated. Many will opt to stay away from talking about their experience dealing with COVID-19 because of the trolling that happened to Brenda. That's an interesting point there by Ann Soy. Oliver Mathenge, another journalist, says, let us desist from raining all the negativity we hold on others. There's actually an option of shutting up. You don't have to demean people and their hustle. You don't have to rain on people's parades just because you have access to the timeline. Let us strive to be better human beings. And one last one here. This one is from Dennis Nyambane. He says, so in Kenya, bigwigs or elites are the ones who decide what's right and what's wrong. The common wananchi are not supposed to express their feelings freely. That's an interesting one that I hope I'll be able to ask Adele shortly about that. Where is the line between bullying and freedom of expression? And I'm coming to you for that. But before that, Aziad, we've seen cases of people being bullied in the past, and a lot of them will shut down their accounts and completely disappear from public life. You, on the other hand, are going the other way. We know you have TV appearances. We are seeing you active on social media. I think you've signed an acting deal or something of the sort. What has given you the courage and the confidence to sort of keep moving on despite what must have been one of the toughest weeks for you?
First of all, I have always known what I wanted. And I have always wanted acting. I've always wanted to get into the media industry. And for this particular moment, what happened, it actually made me think about deleting every single thing and just disappearing, you know?
Really?
But yeah, I had thought about it. I had really thought about it. But I had people, before I had a manager, I have been having a manager for the past year who manages me and shows me what to do, you know? So him and his wife kept on calling me and asking if I was okay, because I had two numbers. I have been having two numbers, so they kept on calling me on the other number and asking me if I'm okay, and telling me that there will always be people who will be against what you do, you know, and giving me that confidence and support, and just being there. And it made me just realize that not every single person will appreciate what I do. So as I continue doing what I do, I just need to focus on the positivity and just let the negativity flow away.
Okay, I like that. Focus on the positivity, the negativity will deal with itself. Adele, freedom of expression. Humanity has fought for freedom of expression since the first human being arrived on this earth. And now that we have it, Dennis is saying, why are you stifling my ability to say what I feel? It's a free world and it's a free country. Go ahead, Adele.
I feel like that's a very lazy approach in trying to justify your bullying way, because it's very possible to share your opinion on any topic without insulting somebody else, without bringing them down, without sharing their personal information, without going tens of years through their content to bring up something to put down their looks. I mean, the people who say it is my right to be able to digitally attack you are just honestly trying to justify the negative stuff that they're doing. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to be called out wrong. So when you tell me, so for example, the big cyberbullying situation that I had a couple of years ago, where I was being told that I'm not attractive enough to be slept with willingly, leave alone to be raped, right?
Wow, okay.
This was stemming from a conversation about gender-based violence. Mm. So that is not freedom of expression, right? That is a blatant attack. That is a blatant insult.
That's right.
The two are so different that I feel like people feign confusion just to justify that their bullying ways. Mm. The two are so, it's like day and night. It's like day and night.
Yeah. Okay, wow, you've really made us think with that. Gregory, June, I'm coming to you. Gregory, I want you to come in. When we put the flyer, and I want you to actually respond, you can respond to what Aziad or Adele have said, but when we put out this flyer, some of the comments that we saw was, one, why do you have 3 ladies and 1 man for this conversation? Is it going to be a fair one? Because a couple of comments were that the issue is not bullying, the issue is, one person actually said in capital letters, toxic feminism. And you can go online and verify. I think, Adele, you saw that as well. So, Gregory, where does this come in, where a group of men or young men on social media feel that there is toxic feminism, and where they see it, they call it out? How do you assess that situation?
Yeah. It's a very complex reality, because Wahiga Mora, all we want to do is be politically correct, which possibly is a big challenge, that we don't want to state things as they are, and possibly there is what is being pushed. All right, so if you look at what the young men possibly are facing in terms of even admission in the university, in terms of even the opportunities, in terms of maybe it's something we need to relook as a society in terms of this possible. Yes, I believe in the empowerment of both genders, but not at the expense of any other gender. This is on a lighter note. Maybe as a society, we really need to see at what point have we pushed this particular empowerment, and is it now starting, has it, what do we need to do for us to take the empowerment to the next level? Do we really need to balance it, or even if not balance it, what do we really need to do to the two genders? Because it's something that actually is happening even in relationships. Even when you see how the spaces that we find ourselves in, it is actually a challenge even to say some things, because possibly I'm looking and possibly thinking, how will it be perceived? How will it augur? You know, who is there? Who is present? What am I saying this? So etc. So in terms of the way the young men are feeling, it's something as a society we really need to think. But it does not justify that possibly anybody should be demeaned whatsoever. That one does not justify. So it's maybe as a society we really need to look at it. The second thing, possibly when they are seeing the three ladies, maybe they feel that possibly ladies are being given maybe opportunities than men. So I really, it's something that we really need as a society to have a conversation on, in terms of even the younger generation. The older generation maybe has no problem, but the younger generation have issues. Because for me, I have even challenge when somebody sees my gender, because I didn't write an application for it. So why are you seeing the man in me and not seeing the human being in me?
And that's a very interesting point you've raised. So let me ask you this. So will this debate ever end? If we have a group of men who feel that empowerment has gone too far, and they are willing to speak out about it, and unfortunately some of them go rather, perverse in the way they state it, but also studies show that for women to catch up with men properly, it will take another 150 years or so. It sounds like we have two competing groups, and thus we might see more cases of cyberbullying. We might see more cases of men crying out that women have been too far apart. Will this come to an end anytime soon, in your view?
In my view,
June, I'm getting you in shortly.
It will not go anytime soon, and it will be bad because of the psychological effect that possibly it has. Actually, you've actually shared there people whose career have been shattered, others have committed suicide. So that is where possibly, those are some of the effects that possibly we found. So Wahiga Mwaura, cyberbullying is not going anywhere, because maybe we need to go back on the drawing board and we see the kind of socialization that we are giving individuals. Because even in, you meet people who don't know Wahiga Mwaura, who don't know Greg Mwaura, and they have actually seen, the only thing they've seen because of what they've undergone is actually one man and three ladies. They cannot really see the effect of cyberbullying and how it's affecting not those ladies, but the humanity in those ladies. And that is, generally, maybe in quotes, we find ourselves in negative patriarchy that only sees a man like you have to be supreme, you have to run things. And for me, in terms of the discourse, really need to change and really see the humanity in the other person, because I didn't write an application. Yeah, so
you did not write an application.
I think for me, it is not.
Yeah, I want to interrupt you because I want to try and bring June in before our time is up. June, Adele, Aziad, Gregory have given their thoughts. Come in, and after you talk, anyone else can jump in after that. We don't have to do the circle if you have some burning thoughts. Go ahead, June.
Okay, thank you. I want to hope that those listening will not listen to the sound of my voice or look at my beautiful face, but let me read what the statute says about what the offense. If you're one who commits an offense under the section I mentioned earlier, which was section 27, let me just tell you what the penalty is. You would be liable to on conviction to a fine not exceeding 20 million shillings, or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years, or to both. So before you start posting, please think very carefully. Mm-hmm. In addition, those who are suffering from this kind of cyber harassment or bullying can also have an order compelling the person who has been charged with such an offense to refrain from engaging in or enlisting others So calling others, sharing it on WhatsApp, because the multiplicity of platforms has also made this even worse. Just as Aziad was sharing, this was something on TikTok, which found its way to Twitter and all other WhatsApp platforms and other type of media that escalated extremely quickly. So think about the penalty, because as I said, the law is now in force and operational as at March 2020. This is not something that you cannot be traced. We have seen the DCI finding people who posted things on WhatsApp groups. So if you're thinking it's a very loose thing, think again. The other thing I wanted to share is briefly on freedom of expression, because our constitution actually provides for it in Article 33. And it actually says the right that you have to express yourself does not extend to advocacy of hatred, hate speech, incitement of violence, or in the exercise of your expression of the right of freedom of expression does not preclude you from respecting the rights and reputation of others. So therein takes away the strength of the argument of that person who had tweeted or responded to the post, because it doesn't give you free reign. You have a freedom of expression, but it does have limitations, even according to the constitution. So I would urge people to be cautious about where they want to go and express their anger. They can walk outside and scream. They can look for a counselor. They have other ways to deal with whatever anger they're going through. They don't need to subject themselves to this kind of a risk, number one, nor subject people to incidences of mental health. Reputation. If I lose my job, for example, because somebody else believes what you've said, I could sue you for defamation. That's an additional amount of money that you may have to pay upon conviction. Why would you put yourself through all of that? And the law is very clear where that is concerned.
You've asked some very important questions. Adele, you look like you want to jump in. Go ahead.
Yes, so I totally agree with everything June said. And I honestly, the first comment after I posted the poster was that on toxic feminism. And I think it's important for people to just go and read, so that even when you're engaging in a conversation, you're coming from a point of knowledge, not just creating terms that we really don't even know. What is this toxic feminism? It's put up when we put up a bikini photo near a pool. It's thrown away when we are talking about cyberbullying. What is this thing you guys are talking about? Because we are fighting for advancing access for women to actual basic human rights. We're also saying that the culture that we are living in that is oppressing the woman is also oppressing the man. The patriarchy that puts all of these unattainable, what are they called, expectations for men that are causing men to have a higher suicide rate, right?
Yeah.
Because they're very unattainable. We are fighting that same thing. So in essence, we're also fighting for you. So how about you join us, engage us in conversation rather than creating terms that do not exist? Just read. It's okay. Read, come from a point of knowledge so that we advance the agenda. That, I think, is something huge that, especially online, I do not see people engaging in constructive conversation or even asking, hey, this term you've used, what does it mean? It can start from there.
You've made a very interesting point that when you empower women, you empower men as well. I've never actually thought about it in that perspective. And
do you feel empowered, Mahiga?
Pardon? Do I feel empowered?
Do you feel empowered?
Absolutely.
I feel empowered.
Absolutely. Aziad, let me ask you this. Have you changed the way you engage on social media after everything that happened? Have you made some accounts private? Have you limited your engagement? How has it changed your behavior online?
I haven't changed. There's only one thing that I've changed. Initially, I'd go like live every single evening on Instagram, but right now I can't go live. I just don't want to do it because, you know, you never know. I just feel a little bit of pressure after all that happened, all the harassment and all the bullying. I just don't know if I go to live what I'll see or what someone will say, you know. But I haven't made any accounts private, neither have I left any accounts, neither have I changed any other thing that I used to do.
But I'm sure there's a number now you don't use anymore.
No, there is.
Okay, thrown it out, you are now using the other one. Unbelievable.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, as we wrap this conversation up, I was hoping to take a few messages, but we've had a challenge with our Facebook. Your final thoughts, and especially how to bear with cyberbullying in case anyone out there who's watching this, whether today or in the future, is cyberbullied and they fall up, they find their way to this discussion. What advice would you have for them, each of you, from your sort of own personal experiences? And maybe June, we could start with you, and then Gregory.
Yeah, I think I'll just, to add to what I've said, my main role today was to also just highlight what the legal provisions are.
Yes.
And that it is a human rights issue because there are vulnerable groups that suffer this more than others, women, as we've already mentioned, because there's a sexual minority groups, for example, children, persons with disabilities, celebrities who have now also become a part of the vulnerable groups of people. I would say that it's really a call to exercise the right that is available to you. File the report. I do think it's important. I totally appreciate that there could be fear. I personally have not experienced cyberbullying in my own personal capacity. However, I do think if the provisions of the law are there, then we also start to create some sort of precedent where people do go to the police station and say, you need to use this particular provision of this act and you need to file this report. And take courage that something will come out of it, even as we're waiting to see what happens. The truth of the matter is that when we lose the battle when we have already been overpowered by fear. And I think that it's really a call to say, look for help, look for a positive vibe and energy around you with your friends, your family, but also take that next step so that we do start having a body of law and case law that we can use to sort of say this is actually a really big thing. Yes, we have an act, but can we now see the delivery of judgments and rulings by the courts that actually work in favor of those that have been subjects and victims of cyberbullying? So that's what my final words would be.
Okay, Gregory, for you.
Thank you. My final word will be this. First of all, as a person, it's important to verify how it has affected you. Go agree with yourself that possibly this thing has caused me phobia, I cannot go live. This one has caused me this, I cannot do this. This one has caused me this, I cannot do this. So that is it. So the second thing, verify the reason why these people are doing it. Just know there are people who are possibly fighting themselves, they are fighting their own battles in the wrong way, but possibly projecting to you or displacing to you, or they are dealing with themselves. And another thing is look for support. If you feel that possibly this thing has affected you, I love that possibly you have a manager. Get people around you who can actually accompany you for who you are. The last thing, kindly don't numb your emotions. Some people say, I really don't care, let them do themselves whatever they want to do. But kindly allow yourself. Don't numb your emotions because that will put you off. It will actually make you move away from the grid. So be aware of it. And at all, if you're convinced that which you're doing is adding value to you and the society, kindly continue doing it. Let them possibly continue doing whatever they do because they're in a bottomless pit and we cannot help them.
Okay, very interesting. I like the advice that you're giving. Adele, for you, what lessons have you learned?
I think for me, it's just the importance of our support system. So I totally agree with that point. And I love that now, we're armed with actual tangible laws that can, help us seek some justice. But on a personal level, I think it's very important to take care of your mental well-being as well. And so when you're alone, like as Yati said, when you were alone and you live by yourself and all of these calls are coming in, at those moments, you really do need to engage certain exercises that can help you, or even maybe there's some resources like a hotline. So there is a counseling hotline, which is 1190 that you can call.
Okay.
Sometimes cyberbullying leads to suicidal thoughts. There's an organization called Befrienders. If somebody just Googles Befrienders Kenya, you'll find their hotline and they deal specifically with that. So you can get assistance over the phone if in that moment bullying has gotten you to a level that you're actually like. We've seen this happen the world over and even here in Kenya. And I think also with the speed that we download different apps with, be it TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, there are also very credible apps that are good to help you through maintaining your mental well-being. One that I use is called Mindshift, and I guess George will know it uses I think cognitive behavioral therapy. It has different exercises to help you really just unpack certain thoughts that you're having. So with the same speed you download social media apps, there are also some very good mental well-being apps that can help you, especially when you're going through cyberbullying as an individual. Yeah.
Okay, I love, you've given some very important information out, Adele. Thank you so much for that. In 10 seconds, Adele, tell me this. To respond to online bullies or not, would you do it? To respond to online bullies or not?
I think you should go with whatever it is that you're feeling. If you asked me this question a couple of years ago, I would have said, no, be the bigger person, think of your brand, especially if you're in the media and things like that.
Yeah.
But honestly, responsibility cannot be on the victim. It cannot be on the victim. The responsibility is on that person who's using social media to bully others. So they should be asked, excuse me, to bully or not, and can you stop? Let's speak not.
Thank you. You've wrapped that up quite well. Aziad, I hope you've learned a thing or two after the kind of week you've had. Any lessons you'd have for other young ladies, young men out there who might be bullied in 2020 or in years to come, of how they can weather it? Because you seem to have handled it quite well, I would say.
I think I was able to handle it very well because I was surrounded by mature people when the thing happened. Just like Gregory had said, first of all, don't numb your feelings. At first I was like, it's just end, there'll always be haters. But later on, it really got to me, and the sobbing really helped me like relieve some of the pain, you know?
Wow.
And so what I would like to tell them is that as long as you love what you do and you know you're not hurting anyone or killing anyone or causing harm to any other person, just continue doing it. Don't stop your dreams because of the bullies or because someone said this. Just as long as you're not being a harm or a danger to someone else, do what you do, continue doing it. Just know that there'll always be people who will always be against it, and definitely there will be people who will love what you do. That is what I would like to tell them. Don't stop following your dreams because of what people say or think, as long as you're not harming or hurting anyone. What an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. We've had Aziad Nasenya. She's an actress, also recently very famous. Thank you for joining us today. Adele Onyango, podcaster and the founder of the Adele Onyango Initiative, for sharing your wise thoughts and those contacts that people can reach out to in case they need help. Right now, we've had Gregory Moura, a counseling psychologist, and I believe they can get all of you online in case anyone might have any further questions for you, and June Gashui, who's a lawyer and a performing artist as well. I must say, a very competent panel to help us discuss bullying in a digital age, cyberbullying, online bullying, a lot of which is happening not just in Kenya, but all around the world as well. Thank you for watching. We apologize once again to our Facebook people. We know you really wanted to plug in on this. Next week, Thursday, we'll make sure we have that working for you so that you can send your questions to whoever we'll be having on the screen behind me. But for now, have a good week. Good weekend, I must say, Easter weekend. Stay safe, don't bully, and we'll see you again next week.
As long as he's adding value to you and to the society at large.
Yes, yeah. So you guys share as soon as you get it. If I had Bitcoins, I would digitally send it to you because we're in a digital era, but I don't. So stay safe, and let me go work on the clip so that I can send it to you guys as quickly as possible.
All right.